we'll have folks come in and out. Um, so I'm actually going to have Dr. Sawyer kick us off. So if we could go back to the previous slide. And give us some welcoming words to kick us off on this lovely fall morning. So I will turn it over to Dr. Sawyer.
Great, thanks, Laura. Well, first of all, I want to say welcome, and isn't it wonderful to actually to live in the North Bay? As I look outside, I'm kind of surrounded by windows of my office happens to be my dining room table, but it's absolutely beautiful just to be able to look outside where we don't have a lot of smoke right now in this area. I know there's some areas that still have it, and I do know the other day we had 80-mile-per-hour winds, at least down here. I don't know what it was in terms of the winds in the mountains, but I want to say that, you know what, every day I am thankful and I count my blessings. I also know that there were a number of our staff that went through the fires, a number of our staff that were evacuated. Close to 20 of our staff had to be evacuated, and some staff and their families actually lost homes. Our thoughts are with you. This has been a tough time for everyone. We also know too that during this time, people of course have been evacuated. Some actually were even staying on campus. And so to know that, as we've talked about many times, the culture of care, the idea of reaching out to each other. We may not get to everybody, but you know someone who may need your help and support. Please feel, and if you feel compelled, let us know so that we can also reach out. I know that I've been in a situation where when I was evacuated and we didn't know where we were going to go, and people reached out to us and just said, hey, you can always stay with us. And I know this is different in the time of COVID, but the idea of culture of care also means is that we're going to reach out and reach in to each other. So I've heard so many wonderful things of how folks have been able to touch base with some of our staff and some of our students. And by the way, we did have a couple of our students that also lost their homes. So this is a trying time for all of us. COVID is something that I can't say that we're ever going to get completely used to. As you probably have seen the local reports as well as the national news, the numbers are continuing to go up. And until, of course, we get that vaccine and we start masking more, those numbers aren't going to change a lot. And those are things that we know that are going to have to be done. Our community here in Sonoma County, you may be keeping up with those numbers. We get our regular EOC updates, and Tracy Eaton gives me regular updates in terms of also too for COVID. We just have to continue to do the good work that we're doing, mask up, and mask up. I think our campus, we're very fortunate compared to a lot of other campuses. If you've kept up with what Long Beach is going through, Chico, as well as San Diego State, it's been very, very difficult for them. So we've done an excellent job, but it's also very, very important to know that we stick with, if you're on campus, wear a mask. I know folks are saying, well, but if I don't see anybody, continue to wear the mask. The idea is that we know that that's the safest, and we know it's the easiest way for us to at least help for prevention. So I will get off of that because I have another topic too. And elections are coming up. And elections on college campuses have always been a big deal. We know that. But we also know too that this year, at least in most recent memory, this may be one of the more contentious elections. And as student affairs professionals, as individuals who are at the institution and are members of the state, we have to maintain the neutrality. Now, I know that we all in our private settings, in our offices, and talking with colleagues that we know, that we may then express our political views. But we have to, at least for our students, maintain as best we can neutrality. And Ryan's going to be talking a little bit later about free speech and time, place, and manner. But I wanted to make sure too that we talked a little bit about this because we have programming that's being set up. Mo and other folks are working to help develop our pre-election, election, and post-election programs. And we've been working with the strategic preparedness group in case there should be something that would happen, such as a protest, or should there be a gathering. We want to make sure that we're there for our students so that they don't find themselves in a difficult and compromising position. So as we are going through some of this, I know it's been difficult. I know many of you are expressing then the challenges that you are having, even within your own families. And so one of the things I wanted to do real quickly is I wanted to give you a piece that I just read yesterday, and it's called Managing Post-Election Stress. I'm going to put it on my Instagram account, but I want to make sure that you all at least can hear what these 7 pieces are, because I know it helped me a little bit as I was thinking about it. So first of all, how does one manage it? Well, we've got to at least stick to a routine. Whatever you're doing, continue to do it. Don't stop because you're unhappy or mad or terrified because of the results of the elections. Number 2, you got to take care of yourself. I think that a lot of times some of these things become so emotional that it's hard for us not to get into a corner and crawl up in a little ball. So we've got to make sure that we take care of ourselves. So go out, exercise, make sure that you're hydrating, but you may even have to find your own mantra. For me, I like to work out because that's how I rid myself of that stress. But you got to take care of yourself. Make sure that you're also eating properly. Number 3, engage in pleasurable and meaningful activities. Do things that are fun. For me, 2 and 3 sometimes is the same. Pleasurable for me is actually working out and doing exercising. But I also know too that there are things that I like to do. I like to just kind of get out. Sometimes just drive. Sometimes just drive, take in the coast. But find those things with your family members, things that you can do. I know we're sheltered, but let's try to find those things that at least that are meaningful and pleasurable to you. The big thing I think for most of it is limit your social media time. We do have a tendency to kind of pick up our gadgets and look through them, and then we just get fired up more, or we turn on the television and we see something else that tends to be more incendiary, and we even get madder. So we're going to have to try to balance some of that. Also, too, I'm not preaching, but during this time, maybe you want to limit your substance use. So maybe before that, 1 glass of wine may turn into a bottle of wine. But we want to make sure that during this time when you're trying to deal with the stress of what has taken place in the elections, make sure that you don't overindulge. The other thing too is limit your debate and arguments. Those never really help out too much. And in talking to a couple of you over the last few weeks, sometimes when you meet with your family members, that has been difficult because you may not be on the same side of the aisle when it comes down to your political beliefs. So try your best to limit then those political arguments and debates. And the final thing is try to spend as much time you can with supportive friends and family. Maybe it's the folks that are drinking the same Kool-Aid that you're drinking, but the fact is that sometimes it's important to be around those individuals who can engage in the same practice and engage in the same thought process. These are things that we already know, but I know many people are literally doing a countdown from today. And we are setting up programs, and we will be providing that information to the entire division so that you can see some of the things that we'll be doing. Actually, we have been already involved since August, have been putting together and have had programs that have been presented through virtual for our students, faculty, and staff. The night of, we will be having a watch discussion party. And then the next day on November the 4th, we will also have then a post-election review. And then from November the 4th to November the 12th, we will continue to have activities, but we will also have then groups that will be set up should there be a need for us to be able to talk on campus. Then we are going to have to then go into a different element. But I want to make sure that you all know that we are prepared from November the 4th to November the 12th, that we know that election information still will be coming in. So we are not going to have the final outcome. We will have our prognosticators that will say this is what it's going to look like as of November the 3rd. People will be guessing in terms of the outcome. But I wanted to make sure that you knew that we're prepared, that we have individuals that are on board, so that we do have a plan. But we will share that with you so that you have that information then prior to next week. So hopefully we'll have that by the end of the week that we can pass around to everyone. The final is that we plan on having the same group engaged until the inauguration, not knowing exactly what the outcome is. And reading a history report, I believe was from I want to say 1869, but where it took actually 4 months to make a determination of the presidency. So this may not be that same time period, but I do know that it's important for us to understand that things may not be answered on November the 3rd, as we know, or even that first week. So I wanted to share all that with you. The fact is that this is a difficult time for everyone. Elections just happen to be part of it. We've had the fires that have been devastating. COVID has been emotionally very disturbing because it's just kind of taken us out of our element, but it's also too, in many ways, brought us closer to our families. But the one thing that we need to know is that as we go into the spring semester, how important it is to know that we have each other, how important it is to know that we're going to continue to work on this and to make it better for our students. They're struggling with it, but one of the things I will say that was one of the most exciting things I've heard in a long time, we actually have more students enrolled in the CSU than ever before. 486,000 students are enrolled in the CSU. That is absolutely phenomenal. We have more students graduate from the CSU this past spring than ever before. So when you start thinking about the positives, we normally think of 2020 as, can we just hurry up and get out of it? But the important thing for all of us is that the culture of care doesn't reside with other people. The culture of care resides with you. And if you think culture of care, what I've heard is, well, culture of care, well, if we're doing a culture of care, how come they aren't doing whatever? No, culture of care's got to start with you doing something for somebody else. You can't expect everybody to come doing something for you. Now, we also want to know, what can we do for you? But the culture of care of each and every one of us is reaching out. That means all of us are being taken care of. So think about the culture of care, because we've got to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of our students. I know that Mel would agree with that as one of our student leaders, because as a student leader, she's got to tell her leadership, you all have to take care of yourselves before you can take care of our peers. So think of that first, and think about how important it is for us to consider that the culture of care first begins with each and every one of us. So I do again want to thank all of you for your hard work, your commitment to our students, your commitment to making this virtual reality truly a wonderful opportunity experience for our students. And the other thing I want to do too is to welcome our guest again. Thank you, Julia, for being here. We will be introducing you a little bit. And Mel, thank you for being here with us. It's always a pleasure to have our student body president join us. Laura Monhay Polson, Dr. Polson.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Sawyer. We have a couple guests today, as Doc mentioned, and we have a couple presentations we'll be getting from different functional areas. So Sue, if you could move to the next slide, I'm going to go ahead and welcome one of our special guests, Julia Gonzalez. She is our new Assistant Vice President for Strategic Communications. She started in mid-September, and we invited her here today to share a little bit about herself and a little bit about what kinds of infrastructure and changes we may see coming with her leadership. So welcome, Julia.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for letting me join you for a short bit this morning. I know some of you already from Zoom meetings and from emails, and so for me, it's great to be able to attach a face to the names. I see some familiar faces. Mo is someone who I remember from way back. This is not my first stint at Sonoma State. I worked in the advising career in EOP office back when it was called ACE, when we were called ACE Advisors. And we were at the bottom floor of Salazar Hall back in 2002. And so I'm really happy to be back at Sonoma State in this new capacity. My focus has been in the area of communications, and in particular in public outreach, and working to translate what organizations might have as complex pieces of information, projects and programs, and translate that into something that the average citizen can understand. And I'm hoping to bring a lot of that into play here at Sonoma State. We have a lot of alphabet soup, acronyms left and right, and programs left and right, and information that really, the way we word it, we tend to word it in very academic terms, and I'm one of the things I'm hoping to do is to bring it down just a little bit to more down to earth, to something that the average person would understand, that because I'm hoping to take our message beyond the campus and into the larger community and grow a bigger footprint for our visibility. There's a lot of great work that's happening at Sonoma State, and the average resident in Sonoma County has no clue about it. And so introducing that to the community, and raising the profile of our programs, of our faculty, of our students, and that's not just within our local community. I'm hoping to raise the profile of our programs in individual publications, and with niche kind of groups around the country, because right now there's very little that's being shared about Sonoma State. When you look at the literature, just do a sweep of what's available online from what other universities are doing. We're doing a great job, and our faculty is doing a great job. There's fantastic research that's happening, but nobody knows about it. So those are kind of the areas that I'm working on, is trying to raise a profile, and then learning this organization. This is quite, even though it's not a big campus, there's a lot of structure that I'm learning to I'm getting to I'm figuring out, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm happy to meet with this group. I've been working with some of the group, some of your one of your subgroups, CASE and TRIO, and the Dream Center. One of the pieces that we're going to be rolling out next week is a celebration of first generation college students. So that was my first opportunity to work with some of this team, and I'm super excited, and I think it's going to be a fun project. Other pieces that I'm hoping to roll out, and I'll be working with your group in particular, is raising your profile on social media. Right now, we have a lot of pages on social media. Our portfolio is quite extensive, and our footprint is quite diluted. While it's big, it's diluted, and so I'm going to be working with the individual units to see where we might fold pages into one master page, and garner a bigger audience, garner more responses and shares and likes for posts. And then I want to really strategically look at the channels that we have right now. Are they serving you? Is Facebook really where you want to be? Do we really, maybe we should be having more of a presence on LinkedIn, or maybe a presence, maybe having a presence on Snapchat. I'm not averse to having a presence on TikTok. In fact, I'm excited to have a presence on TikTok. So, there's a lot of exciting areas that we can explore with social media. And this is a particularly perfect group for that because of your close relationship with our students. So I'll be calling soon to work with you and working basically to increase your profile and your visibility.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julia, for being here. And I believe Julia is going to stay with us for as long as she can before she has to duck out for another meeting. And like she said, you know, we look forward to working with you and all of the great ideas and skills that you bring to the university. So.
Laura, let me just add too, I forgot, I should tell you something a little bit about myself personally. I'm a native of LA. I've lived in Sonoma County for about 30 years. I have 2 kids, one in college at the University of Colorado Boulder and one in high school here in Santa Rosa. And I speak English and Spanish.
Fabulous. Thank you. We've got a lot of LA natives, a lot of LA transplants up here too. So I was going to say, you'll get questions in the chat about LA. I see Moises asked if you were a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, but I spell it Dodgers.
The right way.
The right way.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Julia. We're happy to have you. So we can go to the next slide. I'm going to share a little bit about, in the spirit of communication, a little bit about our Engage at SSU platform. Many of you are probably more familiar with Sonoma Sync and OrgSync, the company behind Sonoma Sync was purchased by Campus Labs a couple years ago, and Campus Labs migrated us to their student engagement platform, Engage at SSU. Even this year, then Campus Labs was purchased by Anthology. So it is an ever-changing climate for online engagement platforms. The good news is that here we are with Engage at SSU, which is really an online space for our students. One of the interesting things about this time in a virtual environment, and why I wanted to just share with you a little bit briefly about what Engage is, and to preview for you some work that Student Involvement is doing to come, is that, you know, as we've moved into our online space, we've lost some of the courtyards and the commons and the areas where students would have typically gathered, like Seawolf Plaza. And so this was a platform that Student Affairs and Associated Students were using beforehand, mostly to manage sorority and fraternity life, student organization registration, and then as our associated students had a branch that they were also using for engagement opportunities. What we have now, like I said, as we've moved into this primarily online space, is essentially Seawolf Plaza online. It's a space where students can go find AS and Division of Student Affairs events. They can find clubs and orgs to get involved with. They can RSVP to events. They can even customize their experience by selecting which organizations they want to hear from or be a part of. It's not necessarily an online community space, which is why I say it's kind of like Seawolf Plaza, where a student can walk through, they can see what's going on, they can connect with folks, say, hey, I am interested in that organization and I want to be a part of that. When's your next meeting? They can show up to the next meeting, but the meeting wouldn't necessarily take place on Engage. It's the space where students can find that information. And then for staff, for us, utilizing Engage, the advantage is that that we're able to track attendance more easily. We have Engage has an app that we can use for contactless check-in for in-person events, which is great. And then we can automatically send assessments out to attendees. So if a student signs up for an event um, being hosted by student involvement, they show up, they're marked as attended, then post-event, we can either set up an automatic assessment to go out to either ask for feedback or to assess the learning or co-curricular outcomes of the event, or we can manually go in and know who attended and then send it out. So I wanted to kind of give you a quick preview for a couple reasons. The first is that um, while this is a platform that has been widely used by Associated Students and student involvement has been inviting our departments to create pages and engage. And I believe that Mo will be sending something out. I'm not reading the chat while I'm talking, but I'm seeing things coming through. So Mo will be sending a notification out to folks or an invitation out to create a page if you want to. I know the Dream Center is a great example of a program that we have in our division that has created a page and started to utilizing it. It really is a very robust tool. You might be wondering kind of what's the difference between Engage and Seawolf Living. Seawolf Living has always been a communication tool that student involvement and other folks in the division have used heavily to be able to communicate about events, but it is not an engagement tool. And so it is not necessarily a space where we would be able to record who attended, post files, share photos, that sort of thing. And so I wanted to give you a quick preview, not only, like I said, Hannah will send this stuff out, not only because we wanted you all to start thinking about how you could utilize this platform more, and we'll be really promoting that folks adopt this when it's appropriate for use. But the primary reason why I wanted to set this context, at least in our meeting today, and so you can go to the next slide, is that we've created a Division of Student Affairs staff page on Engage. The reason for this, I think creating the staff page solves a couple problems for us. As you know, we get a lot of emails, and we also need to communicate with each other quite regularly. And some of the challenge of moving to this online space is that email for the entire division has been our primary way of notifying folks of opportunities or of a need for volunteers or professional development sessions. And all of that coming out from the Office of the Vice President's email has, for many of us, felt either at times a bottleneck, at times a little restricting, and other times just a question of whether or not this is a kind of appropriate stuff for us to be sending out. And in an effort to continue to help folks manage their inbox and the kinds of notifications they would be getting, we saw Engage at SSU as an opportunity to create more of that community landing page for the DSA in a robust tool that we already have available to us, and to allow us to quickly share opportunities, needs, and announcements. Because it's a closed group, it's just for Division of Student Affairs members, we are able to post things like our division meeting recordings more easily online for folks to access, and we can share more resources with all of you on that page without necessarily having to consider the extent to which that might confuse, say, a public user of our web page, or it allows us to kind of focus the audience a little bit more. The reason why I laid it out as what it is and what it isn't is because I did want to clarify that this is a professional space. We have StaffLink, we have other spaces, I think, at the university that are really good, kind of organic, open spaces for connecting. And for the Division of Student Affairs staff page, it's not a personal space. And what I mean by that is, if you're selling a chair online, the DSA page on Engage would not be the place to post it. That would obviously be something like StaffLink or just a personal message you would send to your friends and colleagues. as of right now, the Division of Student Affairs page, the way it's set up, is not a way to reach the whole university. And right now that's not our goal for this page. And so if there's something that needs to go out to the entire university, all staff or all faculty, then we would encourage you to continue to work with your area head and the Office of the Vice President to make sure that that need is going out in the appropriate way. And related to that, it's not a replacement for official announcements coming from the Vice President for Student Affairs. And so the Office of the Vice President will continue to share organizational changes via email, via the Office of the Vice President email address. We'll continue to share retirement announcements, new hires, when we have events that are considered all hands on deck, or special requests that might require different communication and expectations for folks depending on their position. Those kinds of official requests will be coming out from the Office of the Vice President's email. So please don't stop reading those emails, but my hope is that this does alleviate some of that bottleneck that we've experienced. I want you all to be able to communicate with each other quickly about the wonderful things we have going on. And so this is where we're headed. Sue, you can go to the next slide. Some of the benefits to this page and some of the features on Engage, we can post news posts. It allows anyone in the group to share work-related announcements. We can create events, and so we'll be moving our division-wide meetings, trainings, and events invitations to come out from this page. We will still send an email with the dates from the Office of the Vice President, but we won't be scheduling them. And that allows us to manage a little bit more the tracking of the attendance, being able to send anonymous assessment surveys out to folks afterward that aren't tied to their account. That's a feature that's in Engage that we've struggled with in the past in terms of how do we ask folks for assessment quickly and easily, knowing who was there and who wasn't, while also maintaining their either confidentiality or anonymity. So that's something that we'll be able to do more easily in Engage. There is a photo space that allows us to share events from, pictures from DSA events, holiday parties, or division meetings, or training. So that is a shared space for kind of just sharing those images. And then, like I said, there's a space for the availability of files. I don't want this to replace Google Drive, but for some of these things like division meetings, trainings, maybe assessment templates, things that you might want to have readily available to you, we'll make them available on that page. You can go to the next slide, Sue. So what's next? So you should have all received an invitation to the Division of Student Affairs page. If you haven't accepted your invitation, you would simply need to go into your Sonoma login page. There's a tile for Engage at SSU. Click on the tile, it will take you through the single sign-on, and you'll see your invitation. It'll either automatically accept your invitation, or you'll have to click on it and accept it. Accept the invitation, just review the parameters and guidelines for use in terms of posting, and then you'll be able to start connecting with the division. I have a couple other brief announcements before we move into our presentations. Quick congratulations to Christy Giambastiani and Maggie McLeod. They both had presentation proposals accepted to the Cape Ed Convention, and Jenna Baxter received her permanent status. So congratulations, Jenna. And then our Dream Center has been getting lots of well-deserved love lately. The Aspire program was selected as this year's recipient of the NASPA Innovative Program Award, which is an incredible and highly competitive award to receive. So congratulations to the Dream Center Aspire program for receiving that recognition. And they also recently received a grant from the Community Foundation Sonoma County. So congratulations to to Rosa and her amazing team. All right, well, I'm going to pass the mic to Gerald to share with us a presentation so we can get to know the Center for Academic Access and Student Enrichment a little better.
Hey, good morning, Division of Student Affairs. We're excited to present to you this morning about CASE, the Center for Academic Access and Student Enrichment. This is the presentation that we use for outreach presentations, things like CWIF Decision Day, CWIF Preview Day. So we're rolling this out for you all this morning. And so different folks from around the CASE departments will talk about their specific areas. And speaking about 1 to 2 minutes, just to kind of give you a quick overview of what CASE does, which is a collection of different services that provide support resources for low-income, first-generation, underserved, underrepresented students to be successful here at Sonoma State University. The key areas that we provide services are in academic advising and planning, career advising, and resource support. Next slide, please.
Good morning, everyone. This is Brent Boyer. I'm the Director of Disability Services for Students for DSS. And our purpose is to ensure equal access for students with disabilities by providing appropriate accommodations and specialized support services, and by providing guidance to faculty, staff, and the campus community. And we provide a very holistic approach to working with our students. And what's somewhat unique about our program is that we, and not only in providing accommodations, which most people are pretty understand that that's what we do, but we also provide academic advising, which is unique in the CSU and really nationwide. So we have that in-depth knowledge about advising, and we look at all the areas of their life to ensure that people are successful in working forward, and just have the supports necessary to help them work to their highest potential. In addition to that, we look at employment, and from day one, we're looking at, why is that student coming to campus? What is your vocational goal? How can we help you kind of lead and direct you towards accomplishing that goal? So we work with our community partners, Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, to ensure that they're getting support services in choosing an academic career, and services that could potentially also pay for their education. So we get them connected with a Department of Rehab, and we have individuals come on campus or by Zoom to give our students an orientation about their program and try and get them connected. Test taking accommodations. In a normal time, we administer over 2,000 exams a year, so that's a big part of what we do. We create alternate media, or changing textbooks into accessible formats. And again, probably a couple 100,000 pages of alternate text that we create a year. And looking at assistive technology, what kinds of technology programs, hardware and software can make that individual have access to those instructional materials, but also how can they use that assistive technology moving forward into careers? We want to help them become more independent and using that technology moving forward, not only in the academic environment, but also in the work environment. And then looking at furniture, we want to make sure in the classroom that furniture is accessible to them. For students who are hearing impaired, we would provide interpreting and captioning. And then also, sometimes people don't understand that we also do people that have any kind of dietary needs or allergies. We work with dining to ensure that their meals are accessible. And then also in the housing environment as well, we work closely with REACH to ensure that their housing is accessible to their experience here at Sonoma State. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So today I'll talk a little bit more about what we do at the Dream Center. So for the Dream Center, our primary focus is to support undocumented students. However, we don't keep track of the person's immigration status. We don't have an application. So no student that comes to see us is ever going to be asked if they're undocumented or not. That means that if individuals are not undocumented, they can still access our services, our programs, and resources. We also do offer support for faculty and staff as well, primarily knowing how to support other students, how to navigate um, um, pretty much like higher education with undocumented students. So some of the things that we do mostly is California Dream Act assistance. So we do want to ensure that our students are receiving financial aid, that they are completing the California Dream Act and their financial aid as well. We also do provide internships and fellowship programs. Actually, our Aspire program is our fellowship program. So we do have professional development opportunity for students, whether they have a work authorization or not. We also do have scholarship information. We post it a lot on social media. We also send it via email to students. As part of the Dream Center, we're also part of the Dream the US, which is a national scholarship the students receive to be able to come to Sonoma State. So we also provide assistance for that as well too. We also do have legal services on campus that are free to students and to you all. And I'm going to say that again. So it's also free to you all. So please take advantage of that, whether it is for you, your family members, or anyone else. Folks can access free immigration services on campus. Obviously, right now, we're not able to do that in person, but we still have that once a week as well. We also do offer social and emotional support. We put different programmings. We're also going to be offering more workshops this semester, different trainings for faculty and staff. We do offer an undocumented ally training, and there's going to be one coming up in November and December, and also next semester if you have not taken one before, participated in one. We're also launching a new program called peer-to-peer undocumented ally training, and that is particularly for non-undocumented students, non-professional staff who want to know how to best support undocumented students on campus, and is led by our students as well too. And we also have different liaisons that we work with, and we are able to provide different types of support like academic advising. We work with CAPS as well to be able to provide support for undocumented students that are more specialized for undocumented students. And we do have a lot of different on-campus and off-campus friendly resources that undocumented students can utilize. So if you ever have any student, please feel free to reach out, send them away, or the Dream Center. We're happy to help them. Even if the student might be an incoming student, if the student doesn't really know, we're always happy to help any student.
Good morning, all. My name is Jesus. I'm EOP Admissions Academy and Outreach Coordinator. So today you'll learn more about the EOP program, or the Education Opportunity Program. EOP is a state-funded program that works with first-generation, historically low-income, underserved, underrepresented students. And the reason EOP exists is to help the CSU break the cycle of poverty through education. EOP is a point of entry program that works with, as I said before, first gen. That means that neither of their parents have a 4-year bachelor's degree from a U.S. institution, that they are, low income, and also a California resident. Since we are a state-funded program, we follow state guidelines. So that means that we're able to work with any student despite their immigration status. So we're able to work with U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and our undocumented population as well. As stated before, EOP is a point of entry, so we accept two types of students: high school first-year students, or graduating high school students, and then our first-time transfer students, students transferring from the JC. Students must apply and be admitted before they become a quote-unquote college student. They apply at the same time that they apply to universities using the Cal State Apply application. Some of the services that our students or newly admitted students receive is they are assigned to advisors. They're assigned their EOP advisor as well as their major advisor. That's really helpful because they get double the support. EOP also helps them with social and emotional support, connects them with community buildings, making sure that they have they create that community. They create EOP, their home away from home. We also provide transitional support, summer bridge and transfer bridge, depending on what type of student we're working with. One of the things that I want to confirm and clarify with you all is that we accept our first-time freshmen once a year. That's normally in the fall. That's when they come in. And then, or the summer for summer bridge. And then transfers, we accept them twice a year for the fall and spring semester. Also, for our first-time first-year students, they participate in what we call the EOP Kalmanovitz Academy. That is, students take classes together during their first year. And this is a best practice because we want our students to take classes with people that they know and they meet during the summer, during summer bridge. And this is with faculty that, knows how to work with our, underserved, underrepresented students. And then we also support our students with monetarily, with funding, which is an EOP grant. So yeah, that's pretty much all the services that they get. And, if you have any students right now, the application is open for fall 2021. So, they have until January 15th to complete their applications for EOP. So if you have any questions, any students that you would like, if you're having any issues with the application itself, please reach out to us. They could send an email to applyeop@Sonoma, and we'll be more than happy to reach out to the student or the family, or even especially for our pre-collegiate programs. If you need a presentation for your students, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to do that for you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alma Sanchez Carreño. I'm an academic advisor for Puerta and CASE. What Puerta focuses on is helping Latinx students go into K through 12 public education teaching. And the purpose of this program is because, just for example, here in Sonoma County, we have, in 2016, there was about 6% or 46% of the K through 12 students were of Latinx, heritage, and only about 6% of the teachers were Latinx. And so, there's that representation piece that's missing, where we know that students usually excel more when they have, teachers that can understand them, their culture, their language, and whatnot. And so we want to just create more Latinx teachers to help students excel more. And so some of the services that we offer are undergraduate and credential advising. So we focus on GE, the GE requirements, lower division. We also help students with picking major and minor. We provide opportunities for students to go on and get some of the hours that are required to get into the teaching credential, working with other students. We offer teacher credential test prep support, financial support for those tests that are required to go into the teaching credential, networking, community building, resource support. We're not a point of entry program, and so we do admit students that are first-time first-year students, current SSU students, and transfer students. Our application will be opening up on November 1st through January 15th for this year. We participate in Summer Bridge transitional program for first-time first-year students, as well as we do have a learning community for those students that were part of Summer Bridge, which is EDEC 160AB, Social Justice and Education, and much more. So during the regular school year, we would normally take students on trips or have events on campus. Right now we're doing a lot of virtual events, so check our Instagram or Facebook if you'd like to join any of those. And I think that's all. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then we have two other advisors, Griselda and Diana. So thank you.
My name is Nicole, and I'm the coordinator for Seawolf Scholars, which is our foster youth support program at Sonoma State. It's often called Guardian Scholars at other campuses, so if you've heard that name before, this is our version here at Sonoma. So the purpose of Seawolf Scholars is to provide current and former foster youth with advocacy, academic support, community building, and access to resources leading to educational success. So we say current and former foster youth, meaning that a student could have been in foster care at any point in time and for any length of time. So some students may still be in care when they come to Sonoma State, and then some maybe were in care several years ago. And as long as they were in foster care for at least one day, they are eligible. We also serve students who are in guardianship care or have been in kinship care with a family member, students who are wards of the court or have been, emancipated minors, and then students who, through the FAFSA process, have been verified as unaccompanied homeless youth. And so I'm always happy to work with students to figure out what their eligibility might be if they meet one of these criteria, as well as helping them get the documentation that we might need. We do have to get documentation to show, that they've been in foster care, that they've been in guardianship care, but I'm always happy to work with students, especially if it was several years ago and they maybe don't have something. We can work with their county of origin. So if you ever come across a student who might be eligible, I'm more than happy to work with them to figure out how we can get them involved. And on our website, we do have an application process as well, but there's no deadline, so they can join at any time and at any point in their time at Sonoma State, and we work with them until they graduate. So some of the things we offer: academic advisor, which is also me. So basically just helping students navigate sort of the process of Sonoma State. So academic advising, help with financial aid. We have scholarship assistance. So we do have scholarships specifically for Seawolf Scholars students, as well as our critical needs fund if emergencies come up or unexpected expenses. Connections to on and off campus resources. So of course, always referring students to other programs on campus, but also to services in the community, or working with their social worker from their county of origin to make sure their services are transferring over correctly. We provide priority registration and priority housing in collaboration with other offices on campus. And those are things that our foster youth receive, as well as access to campus housing during winter break. And then community building events. So opportunities for Seawolf Scholars to connect with each other and build that community together. So again, I'm always happy to answer questions and always happy to meet with students and sort of just talk them through this process and what and how we can get them connected. And that's it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rose. I am the administrative coordinator for the TRIO Student Support Services programs at Sonoma State. TRIO Student Support Services is a federally funded program. We've been at SSU for over 30 years, and we host two different TRIO Student Support Services programs here on campus: Multilingual Achievers Program and United for Success. Both programs provide similar services. The only difference between the two is that the Multilingual Achievers Program provides specific support for students whose first language was not English or who learned English and another language at the same time. So we serve a group of students who are first generation or low income or students with disabilities. Students do have to qualify for our program by meeting one of those three designations. And we provide a variety of academic and personal support services to ensure that students successfully navigate college and graduate within 6 years. Students can apply at any time during their undergraduate career. We don't have a specific deadline. So we do accept students year-round, each academic year. And as a federally funded program, there is no cost to our students to participate. Our services primarily are focused around academic support. So we provide personalized one-on-one support with professional staff in the areas of writing, reading, and math. We also provide support around college success and personal support for things like career goals, balancing school and life, and addressing external demands during their time here at Sonoma State. We also provide, in addition to our academic and personal support, support for improving students' economic and financial literacy. So we have a staff that works with students for financial literacy support. And finally, we provide support for graduate school, whether that's navigating the application process or helping students to look at whether graduate school is a path that they want to take and whether that makes sense for them. And then we provide also opportunities for community building. When we're on campus in person, we provide outing opportunities, workshops, and a space for students to connect with other folks in the program. Thank you.
So really quickly, I just want to say thank you to the case presenters. Here's all the contact information. In the interest of time, because we need to move on, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will happily respond, or reach out to the folks listed on the screen. Thank you all.
And thank you, Dr. Jones, and thank you, CASE team. That was a wonderful presentation, and certainly anytime that we can have an opportunity to learn more about the work that you're doing is always better for all of us. So thank you so much. Excellent job. And kudos for all of the wonderful accolades. You all have been doing a tremendous job. Dr. Monhey Paulson, we will be introducing our next guest.
Thank you. Yes, so our next presentation is from our associated students. Our president, Mel Kadar, is here today, and I believe that she will be presenting with Eric Dixon a little bit about associated students.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Mel Kadar, pronouns she, her, hers, and I am the AS president.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric Dixon. I use he, him, and his pronouns. I serve the student body as their executive director of the Associated Students. We're going to give you a little overview of AS today. And obviously we'll take any questions at the end if we have time, but we're going to try and put this in high speed so we can meet our time limits. So I'm going to turn over to my boss and let them take it from there.
All right, so for our mission, we really like to emphasize that we are student-run, student-led auxiliary, and although we are not part of student affairs, we are definitely collaborative partners. The core of our mission is really to enrich the lives of students and build a sense of community, and with that, we really filter a lot of what we do through that to ensure that we are meeting our mission.
And just like the university has its strategic plan, so too does the Associated Students. Our 3 strategic goals through 2025 are: first, to address the changing needs of our student body and expand services to support the basic needs of our students, contribute to a sense of belonging of our students, and then finally to increase engagement with our students. So those are the strategic goals AS focuses its programs on. So what we're going to do next as we change slides is kind of blaze through our 4 core programs and talk a little bit about some upcoming, or what we're doing this year, and then we'll wrap it up. So I'll turn it over to Mel.
This is our this year's SG team, and we've set ourselves up this year to really serve our students and act as a resource during this virtual setting. So this year, some things that we've been doing is just working to really represent our students and make sure the student voice is heard across campus. And we've also done a lot of different civic engagement work and getting students registered to vote. Over summer, our exec team did come up with some top priorities that we've been filtering a lot of our actions through. And those include things like college experience and so there's 3 main priorities. Each of those have like kind of umbrellaed areas. So the first one's college experience, which includes things like quality education, community connection, and equity and inclusion. And then the second one is basic needs. So all the basic needs programs, and just making sure students really have everything they need to be successful at Sonoma. And then the third one is budget advocacy, which includes things like course cuts, budget cuts, and course fees.
So we're going to next slide, please. Another of our core programs is Associated Students Productions. Many of you know of ASP already. ASP is going to be celebrating its 40th anniversary as the programming board of the campus next year. So it's been part of the Associated Students since our inception in '81. It's really dedicated to putting on those community building, educational, social events and activities for the campus. Obviously this year it looks a little different. These are a picture to remind you of the good old days of the Seawolf Plaza, where people could be out and about and tabling and talking. But for the first 2 months this year, ASP's put on over 16 virtual events, and we've got a lot more coming up. I think we have 10 and then before Thanksgiving. And so putting on lots of events for the student body, activities, educational opportunities, points to discuss. And so it's a team of students that work, a team of 5 that put together the events and the programs and try and pump out a great student engagement for the campus. So next slide.
All right, so for children's schools, most people don't really associate the children's school when they think of AS, but the children's school serves as our early childhood education center and laboratory for the campus. Really serves as our learning lab for our early childhood students, as well as serves for, our student and university parents across our campus. And during this year, since we are functioning virtual, or we are functioning at half capacity because of our local and statewide guidance due to COVID, we're really just trying to continue to function at our highest quality. Next slide.
Some notes about stuff that's going on at the children's school. President Kadar mentioned that we are operating a little differently this year, but it doesn't change the commitment that our staff and our leadership has had, and just really the amazing school we have access to here at Sonoma State through the children's school. This year, Tarek, our health and nutrition coordinator, received certification for the federal food program, the California Children's Food Program, and as a national sponsor. So we're really proud of Tarek and all of the work that they do, teaching nutrition and sustainable activity to kids as early as 1 through the food that they eat and the process they do. So Tarek does a great job and should be recognized every day, not just from certifications, but does a great job. And then Leah Thompson-Clark, our director, received a Circle of Excellence Award for 2020 from the School of Education. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Circle of Excellence Award, it's existed for over 20 years. The School of Education recognizes leaders in education and early child education from the area, and last year decided to have induct Leah as part of their Circle of Excellence. So we're really proud of Leah and really proud of the school that's been created as part of the process. So yeah. So next slide, please.
All right, so next we have JUMP, Join Us in Making Progress. Their mission is to provide the Sonoma State University students the opportunity for personal growth, leadership, and education through service to the campus and the community. They really act as our service opportunity provider and attempt to help students make the community around them really just better. And some of the JUMP coalitions include some short-term services as well as some long-term services like our youth programs. And like most of our programs, JUMP has been working to provide virtual opportunities and have been putting a lot of work during the semester to provide just different virtual opportunities, trying to see what we're able to do. It has put a lot of work into our civic engagement efforts this semester as well.
Yeah. Well, next slide, please. Something new for the associated students this year is bringing together all of the basic needs functions. Basic Needs has existed at Sonoma State as a collaborative coalition between a variety of places, student affairs, associate students, etc. This year, our executive officers and Dr. Sawyer had some extensive conversations over the summer about where to put basic needs for the year, and it's been brought under the AS banner for the year. So some quick highlights of kind of what that looks like for the year. We've got case management. So the AS professional advising staff is serving as case manager along with our office manager. So we're each case managing a different day. And so as basic needs requests come in, we're using a case management model to really talk to the students, investigate what's going on, connect them with the proper resources, and making sure that we're really addressing the students' individuated kind of concerns. And so that's happening. So each of our staff is doing a great job really working with students on a face-to-face basis as they deal with some basic needs challenges. Lobos Pantry is still up and operating. Lobos Pantry has been around for a couple years now. We're operating off a little differently. So we're not, the pantry isn't open for people to come in and shop, but we do prepare bags weekly. Students are able to order their bags online so they can choose what's in their bags based on what's in stock in the pantry. Those bags are prepped by Natalie Frankel, our JUMP coordinator, and distributed on campus with the help of volunteers from student involvement like Hannah Thomas, and they let those go to students each week. So students can order each week, and that's going to continue to happen into next semester as well. CalFresh Outreach is been doing virtual intakes, so we have some great student leaders who really work intaking students, talking to them about their potential for CalFresh, helping them through the process of application. We had our virtual CalFresh outreach last week, and had almost 30 students come in to investigate CalFresh, whether or not they were eligible. So it's a great opportunity for students to really figure out if that benefit is right for them, and what can be a daunting application process. So it really does serve to connect students with an amazing resource, and help walk them through the process. And so housing security or insecurity has been an issue at Sonoma State for a long time. The AS transitional housing program has existed since 1991. So it's been addressing housing insecurity for quite some time. But we also have emergency housing with our partners at REACH, and looking at other opportunities for students who are experiencing housing insecurity. And so that is there as a potential area for students to get some help on, as well as community resources. We've been working, for example, with a housing insecure student who's in Southern California. They're trying to find them resources in Southern California, since that's where they're living this year. And then finally, our emergency grant program, funded through a grant from the state of California, but provides students some financial assistance when they're essentially experiencing financial insecurity that interrupts their housing or their food, their basic needs. One of the things that often gets confused when it comes to grants is that they're for like tuition, books, and those sorts of things. It's not a scholarship fund. It's really there for those students experiencing housing and food insecurity, and how can we assist them in those pieces. And then obviously many of our basic needs partners out there, the counseling center, the care team, the health center team, all kind of working to help students as they address their basic needs. So we're really excited about to have taken the lead this year, but obviously it takes a community for us to really help serve our students. So yeah, next slide.
All right, so here are the different links for each of our different areas. If you want to get a hold of them, or if you want to learn a little bit more about what they have to offer, you can click on those links. And then next slide.
Two notes that you should probably be all aware of. We've had some pretty high profile retirements in the associate students this year. So Leah Thompson-Clark, who I don't think is on the call today, and Linda Williams, our accountant for the associated students, both have announced their retirement this semester. We are going to miss them desperately, both of them and with the institution, with associate students for over two decades. And so we are really sad to see them go, but really happy for them, for all that they've given associated students, all they've given the students of the university, and we couldn't be more proud to call them now retiring staff. But wanted to let you all know that we're both sad and happy to see them go. I just want to reiterate, the associate students is here to serve the students of the university. We do that under the leadership of our students. President Kadar and those faces you saw on the student government page also serve as our board of directors of our corporation. And so they set out the tone, tenor, and direction of what we do to try and better serve the students. And a lot of that includes collaborating with our student affairs colleagues. So that's why we're always happy to be part of these meetings. And so thankful that Doc Sawyer and his leadership team bring us in and quite frankly, maybe put up with me, but are excited to work with all of our associate student staff and student leaders. So that's a little bit about AS. I know we're always crunched for time, so I think President Kadar, I'm going to leave it at that and let you all move on with the rest of the meeting.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. And yes, we do love our associated students. They're exceptional, an exceptional group of students and colleagues on this campus. It's really a special thing. We have one more presentation, lots of content for all of you today. Our Dean of Students, Dr. Ryan Jason Henney, is going to share with us a presentation about free speech and our campus impacts. Ryan, we'll let you take it away.
Hi friends, good afternoon, good morning, and how you do wherever you are. Again, Ryan Jason Henney, pronouns he, him, and I'm gonna do a Reader's Digest version of this presentation, which normally is about an hour-long conversation. So I will, at the end of the meeting, put in the chat a meeting that I'm gonna host for anyone interested for 1:30 on Wednesday. So if you want to have a more deeper conversation related to free speech on the college campus, that is space and time for you. And soon I practiced me doing remote. So here's to hoping it goes as expected. So a lot of what we refer to on with regard to free speech on college campuses is related to the Executive Order 13864, which means that on college campuses, we're required to have transparency and accountability when it comes to topics related to and regarding free speech. And that executive order is based on 3 specific laws and or principles. The first is the First Amendment, and that is, I have notes I'm gonna go and paste in here for folks. I hope this works. Yes. All right. So the First Amendment, obviously, that gives us all the right to free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and the right to petition. That is one of the, obviously, that's the founding principle of our part of our Constitution, Bill of Rights. So that is where it lives. There's a lot of conversation about First Amendment rights being violated with, example, masks right now, and that actually is not protected by the First Amendment. The 14th Amendment, that guarantees everyone due process and equal protection under the law, which means that if you have 2 people, then we're obligated as a nation and state to provide everyone the same exact outcome and resources. So if you give someone who is left-handed a pair of scissors, you have to give someone who is right-handed a pair of scissors. We refer to it sometimes as parity because everyone gets about the same. And then specifically for college campuses, the neutral principles, which means that as a state institution or an organization that receives federal funding, we are limited in what we can and specifically share and do as it relates to anything that establishes a perspective or principle that could be perceived as political. Essentially, that means if we give in a political context, if we give one candidate free rent to use a space with free security, then any candidate that's running for that same position, we have to be able to provide them the exact same accommodation within reason. So there we go. Okay. 3 points of summary for free speech. Any and all ideas can be expressed on a college campus. It's not necessarily just the ideas that we personally agree with and we don't want to hear issues or topics that we personally disagree with. Everything has to have a space on campus. Free speech means we as an institution cannot tell students what they can and cannot say. There are specific things that we can do related to, example, time, place, and manner, where we can limit certain activities and certain types of speech in certain times, because if it disrupts the normal business operation of the university, then it can be limited, but not completely eliminated. And then from the Supreme Court in 1942, there are types of speech that are not protected. And that's a very fine line. And that's a lot of what we hear more recently since this round of conversations, specifically around like Black Lives Matter, and making sure that the free speech that we're talking about is a protected act of free speech and not falling into one of the categories that aren't protected, like hate speech. I'm really trying to advance. Okay. Oh no! I do not know what I am doing. Sorry. Okay. Whew! It's an exciting morning here. All right. So time, place, and manner. So that's what I was speaking to a few moments ago with regard to how the university can put a specific kibosh on certain activities that might be disruptive to the university's normal daily practice and business. For example, as a university, we have a time, place, and manner policy. And within the current policy as it lives, it does say things like, you cannot have a marching band in the middle of the quad between Stevenson and Darwin during normal instruction time, because having a marching band in the middle of the quad of Stevenson and Darwin would be wildly disruptive to any students and faculty and staff that might be participating in class or in doing instruction or just doing their normal job. If there's a marching band outside your window, think about it. I mean, I'm on campus 1 to 2 days a week, and when the lawnmower is right outside my window, like I can't hear crap. And that's very disruptive to me. That is not a violation of time, place, and manner, because that in itself of having a lawnmower outside my window is part of the normal function and operation of the university. Let's see, registration for free speech events. We as a university do request that anyone related to a free speech interest event does register that event. But by law, we cannot require anyone to register the free speech event. That said, the same type of resources and services that might be provided to any free speech event are not guaranteed or obligated from the university if they don't register their event with us. But by and large, we do really hope and want everyone to register events with us. And then the time, place, and management policy, there is some regulation related to unprotected speech. And we'll get to that in just one second. Oh, wait, I have notes for that slide that I will share. Bam. Apologies for the copy and paste. I'm not doing my best work today. Unprotected speech. So there are certain types of speech that are federally, going back to that Supreme Court of 1942, that are not protected, specifically harassment, fighting words, obscenities, or indecent speech. Harassment has to be a specific, directed towards one specific person. On many campuses that I've worked with, there is a faith-based guy that comes, and it's normally a male person identified, that comes to campus and he's yelling all kinds of what I would, and Ryan as he walks in the world, crazy things out at people as in and around campus. Like, people who wear yoga pants are gonna burn in hell, or women who wear glasses are gonna go to hell. So that is all protected by free speech. What's not protected is if that person were to say, you person, right there, you are going to hell because you are wearing yoga pants. That is not protected, because now you're singling a person out. There's a directive impact, and based on the person yelling to the person receiving, there may be a perceived threat, because for physical violence, for self-protection, that would not be protected under the law. Fighting words. And this is something that is actually being contested right now before the Supreme. Well, it was being contested previously in the Supreme Court. Who knows what's happening right now? But what we refer to as incitive words, or words that by the mere utterance call people to fight or call to action. So for some folks, as a queer person, if you refer to me as the F word, that may be a problem for me, and I may need to defend myself or those that I'm with, if they were to utter that word. Some people would say that that is not enough of an elevated word to cause me to physically want to respond to the person addressing me. Other people live on the other side of that conversation and are saying that, oh no, someone calls me the F word, I'm swinging, because I don't deserve to be treated like that as a person as I walk in the world. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and I think specifically the Supreme Court was very vague in 1942, knowledge and wisdom beyond their years probably, that they left it vague for interpretation and reason. And in obscenity and indecent speech. This is another thing that is in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes people who use certain four-letter words, I'm not talking words like food or free, I'm talking about some of the other four-letter words, that for some of us, that's part of our vernacular that we use every day, so it's not obscene. But as a person with small people that live with me in my home, there are certain four-letter F words that we don't use in my home, and I would expect that as I walk across campus, or if I'm in a normal business operation, I would not expect to hear certain words spoken in front of my kids. And so there is a anecdotal rule related to what is indecent and inappropriate. And that is one of the things that, so the last two are often, when we're having greater conversations about unprotected speech specifically, these are things that often come up in conversation. Maybe. There we go. Okay. The reality of things that we face, more likely than not on a college campus, is that hate speech is protected speech, and it is protected under the law. And that's really hard for a lot of us, especially those of us that have a history or experience in doing identity-based work, because a lot of our students that are either minoritized or marginalized are often the targets of some of this hate speech that's in the world. There's a difference between hate crime and hate speech, which is a different conversation for another day. But something that we as university administrators all have to take into consideration is what and how we selectively or unselectively choose to respond to certain things that are spoken into the world in and around our students. And I used this quote once before, as a wise man once said, our job as student affairs professionals is to protect students, not necessarily protect them from their feelings getting hurt. William Gregory Sawyer, circa 2019. So that is words of someone that we all know and love, and words of wisdom, words to live by. Okay. Students or you have three options whenever you're faced with something on campus or in this environment virtually to respond to anything related to free speech. And this is you as you walk in the world, not necessarily you always as the administrator, but also making sure that our students know what their resources and opportunities and options are when they're faced with uncomfortable or difficult situations. Students have three options, and you. If there's something happening, whether online or in person, you can avoid the area. Don't engage. You know what's happening. You've heard about what's happening. Just don't go around there. Don't be around it. Go and listen. There's a reason why when I check the news in the morning, I pull up three specific websites. I pull up Fox News, I pull up MSNBC, and I pull up CNN. And then through that trifecta of news reporting, I get a better understanding of actually what's happening right now in my world, or I guess the world that we all are sharing. And then the other option that you would have is to counter protest. And we all have been in places where no matter what you said to me, I'll use my mom. My mom and I, obviously she's my mom. I've known her for 43 years and she's known me for longer, really. And there are certain times and certain conversations that she and I just, no matter what she says, my thought and opinion is going to be starkly the opposite of what she is trying to say or do or think or share or explain to me. My opinion is formed. It's not going to change. A lot of us who practice faith practices, we have an understanding, we have our practice, we believe the way we believe. No one that, especially not a stranger arguing with me, is going to change my opinion. So when and how we choose to engage with a counter protest or engage with an alternative perspective or idea is something for us to make meaning of. And I choose for myself not to let someone else live rent free in my brain when there's nothing that they can say or do to change my opinion. And so in situations like that, that's one option. But the other option really is to plan a counter protest. Like if someone's saying something that you traversely disagree with, maybe present another argument create another event, an alternative event, a different option that might be out there. So you can deliver an idea that might get and reach out to someone else who might be on the fence on a decision or topic that you've already landed your plane on. Okay, university content. This is very important for those of us that are monitoring our social media platforms that are owned through like the university, whether it's our office specifically or we are doing it as a representation of our position and role. Our content must remain neutral. We cannot endorse one candidate or one proposition over another, and we cannot endorse any one bill or measure over another. This is very important because if Mo Phillips says, Mo Phillips, I'm the director of student involvement and I approve this message. Like now Mo Phillips, representative of the university, is now the university endorsing said initiative, candidate, ballot measure. And we cannot have that. We are always speaking for ourselves. which is why a lot of, like even myself, like I have a public social media, and then I have my personal social media that only like friends and family and certain people may have access to, because I don't want there to be any misconception that my lived life is necessarily connecting to my role and the position I serve as a member of the university community. Okay, so takeaways. So if you have nothing else other than enjoyed my bow tie today, my strong recommendation would be for you to take a screenshot of this slide right now. On a count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so hopefully everyone took their screenshot, because that was a great face I was making. So things that I want you to remember from our conversation today. Free speech comes from 3 places: the First Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and content neutrality, which is an article within the Constitution itself. We must, as a university, provide a space for free speech, and we have consequences if we do not. Specifically, we could potentially lose our federal funding. Hate speech is free speech, and it's protected under the law. You as a person, as the students that you are supporting, have 3 options when they're dealing with specific conflicting information. Avoid the area, listen, and then counter respond. And then as public agencies, we must not take a position on anything political in our roles in offices or divisions. Bam, Laura, 20 minutes.
Excellent.
What? Actually, 18 minutes.
Nailed it.
And again, anyone who's interested, just email me. I'm open to having a more in-depth conversation. Wednesday at 1:30 is the time I have set aside for this, so I'm happy to have conversation with those that are interested.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sawyer for some closing remarks.
Well, first of all, Ryan, thank you so very much. That's so helpful. And I think annually we just need to be reminded in terms of our role and responsibilities as professionals. And although we do have our own personal opinions and the way that we feel, we do have to put that in check while we are with our students and when we are advocating in terms of our jobs and the roles that we have. So thanks so much. I also too want to thank President Kadar for your presentation and bringing us up to speed on all that you're doing in ASI. And the other thing too with AS that I also want to say is thank you for your partnership. That you all have taken on additional responsibilities, things that we really couldn't do as well as we would have liked to have done on stateside. And with you all being able to pick that up and helping us out this year has really been remarkable. And I think it really speaks to the leadership of what you and your team, your board has really brought to the institution. And a special shout out to our executive director, Eric, who has done a tremendous job. So thank you for that relationship that we have together. I also want to thank too, Dr. Jones and his tremendous team. I think Dr. Monique Polson has said earlier that we're getting lots of recognition and lots of accolades, and certainly Rosa, your tremendous program. It really is something when you all, if you get a chance to look at what we have in terms of NASPA, the Innovation Award and the creativity of our Aspire Fellowship program is really unique. And so kudos that we're being recognized. Also to NASPA will be taking place on the second week of November. It is a virtual conference. But we certainly hope that some of you will decide to join us. We do have a couple of presentations that are going on at NASPA, and President Sakaki also will be presenting at NASPA. So I know too that our own Dean, Ryan Jason Henney, will also be presenting on a panel there. So we have folks that are going to be presenting, and hopefully you all will have an opportunity to join us. The last thing I'd like to say is that thank you all for everything that you have done. Our jobs are they're so rewarding of what we do in student affairs. And I know that you all have that lived experience. For somebody who's been in it now for around 40 years, every day I have to say I love the experience. I love helping all of our students but this is a time that they really need us. This is a different time in the history of our country. And so when you feel that you need to get energized, grab one of us. Call us, text us, whatever way that you can get a hold so we can re-energize each other, because we need to be ready for our students that are going to lean into us for that information. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mohit Paulson, for your organization and how you help to present the data. And of course, Sue, for always putting together such a phenomenal PowerPoint for us. And of course, I also have to say a big shout out to Rachel, who always helps to make sure that things, the train is running on time. So you all, thank you for everything. Thank you for the work that you do. And I appreciate you all very, very much.
Bye, everyone.